Welcome to another lesson of Simplify Health to Magnify Life. Why should we move? What does it do for me? How can I make my brain better? How can I move my body better? That's what we're talking about today. In really simple terms, we're going to go into the anatomy of the brain first. Now, I know you can't see this, so I'm going to bring it to you. Let's have a look at the brain for a moment, okay? Here's a little picture of my awesome brain. Now, we have a certain amount of areas in the brain that we need to understand. There's the M1, like the massive main highway through the brain, right in the middle of the brain there. And what that does, its main job is to generate neural impulses for movement, okay? It has a couple of friends. Its friends are the supplementary motor area, the premotor cortex, and the posterior parietal cortex. Now, all of these guys have their own little thing they do in the brain to help with movement. Let's get into them. The supplementary motor area. What does that do? Well, the supplementary motor area, you need that, okay, because it helps to plan complex movements and coordination. So, if I'm about to grab my phone, my supplementary motor cortex enables me to hold it and swipe at the same time. Okay, that's what that's doing right now, that supplementary motor cortex. So it plans complex movements and coordination. So right now, it's working hard, okay? Then we've got the posterior parietal cortex. That helps with transforming visual information into motor commands. So if I see my phone on the desk and I look at it and go, I want to pick that up, my brain then has to decipher, how do I do that from the way I see it to get it into my hand? Does that make sense? I now have to talk to another area of my brain to actually physically go and pick it up, like we just spoke about, the supplementary motor cortex, but also the premotor cortex, because that picks up on sensory. So, this is how this whole situation works. If my phone is on the table, first thing I have to do is look at it. When I look at it, my visual input goes through my brain, which is what? That is your posterior parietal cortex. And it has to figure out how the hell, just by looking at it, is it going to get to me. Then I have to recruit my PMA, my premotor cortex, to figure out where my body is in space before I just launch at it. It goes, okay, I'm over here, that's over there. Now I have to move my body to go and get it. Then when I get it and I pick it up, which has got a lot to do with the supplementary motor area because it plans those movement patterns and coordination. It's in my hand now, I can work it. Does that make sense? The brain's bloody complex, okay? And that's not really what I'm here to teach you, how complex the brain is. All I want you to know is that those best friends that come off the M1, your motor cortex, basically its main job is to create movement, okay? But, listen, are you listening? But what helps it create movement is not from here, it's actually from here. It's actually from here, okay? It is from the input that your body gives your brain. It's not from the input your brain gives your body. A lot of people think that when they want to move their big toe, yes, the brain sends a signal to the big toe, but first, it has a lot to do with what information is coming from that big toe to the brain. So let's break it down. If I'm constantly moving my toes, I'm sending information up to my brain. My brain deciphers that information and then it gives it an output, okay? If I never move my toes and I keep them still constantly and I forget that they exist, then there's no impulses or inputs coming into my brain. What do you think my brain's going to do to my toes? It's going to completely shut them off because it's going to think that the movement in that joint structure or in that area is not safe because you're not moving it. So it will shut it off. And therefore you're going to get less range of movement and less motion in the area that you're not working. Hence, why? How does movement improve my brain? Because it's basically a workout for your brain. If you're moving your body, you're training your brain. You're physically growing your hippocampus. It gets bigger, it gets more oomph every time that you push input into the brain by moving, by being on one leg, by rotating your joints. Any movement pattern that you do, the brain has to quickly act and fire off and determine whether that is safe or unsafe to do so. Okay, that's why you might find that in an older aging population, when they take one leg off the ground and they go to fall over, it's because they haven't trained themselves to do such movement patterns. So the brain goes, oh, not safe, not safe. If I fall down, I can't hurt myself anymore. Okay, I don't want to be up in space where I'm going like this. Okay, so how does movement improve your brain? Well, as soon as we move, our heart rate increases. That's going to push oxygen up into the brain. Your brain is one of the biggest areas in your body and requires the most amount of oxygen in your entire body. That is because it does the most amount of stuff and work in your entire body. So it needs lots of oxygen, okay? Number one, it needs lots of oxygen. Physical activity also increases BDNF. Do you know what that means? It means brain-derived neurotrophic factor. What the hell does that mean? All you need to know is it gives instructions to make a protein, and that protein helps build neurons. What are neurons? Nerve impulses. What do nerve impulses do? They make you move better. Okay, they fire you up better. The more of them you have in here, the better of this is going to work. The more of this that happens, stillness, being stagnant, not moving, the less BDNF you will build, because your brain's not really requiring a huge amount of oxygen because you're not running around all day long to increase your heart rate. So it's going to make less of the protein, and therefore you're not going to get as much maturation. I can't say that word. To build or promote more nerve cells. Okay? All right. That's a lot of science. Let's pull it back a bit. Let's simplify it a bit. Let's move to get smarter. We'll finish the video there. No, I'm only kidding. If you do move, you do get smarter because you build your neurons and your nerve impulses, okay? But not only that, what sort of movement should we be doing? Well, anything that increases your heart rate is great, but, let's do some movement in areas that increase the input to the brain specifically. How about our joint structures? Because what runs our movement patterns? It's our joints. It's a big joint structure. It's the hinge factors that move these areas, okay? They have a lot of input into the brain. Where is the first areas that shut down range of motion? It's your joint structures. So if you don't have a lot of range of motion through your joint structures, then you're not going to have a lot of input happening into the brain, and then the output is going to be, let's decrease that range of motion for that person because I don't feel like it's safe enough. to make that person move this way or that way. That's where I come in, okay? I'm going to help you increase your range of motion through my joint mobility program. Now, my joint mobility is very different from what you'll find out there because I understand this stuff so much. I have made the program so that the movements tell the brain that it's safe and then instantaneously give you an output of better range of motion, better movement patterns, and better joint health. Okay? That's just what happens with my program. So, if you want to be smarter, like me, just saying, if you want better range of motion, if you want better posture, better alignment, less aches and pains, a better moving vessel to live with, and an amazing center of excellence that runs all of that vessel, then you really should come along to my website and you should join my joint mobility program, and you're going to get a lot out of it, okay? And your brain is going to get a lot out of it. We've always got to train our brain through the inputs that comes through our body. The less we move, the less it's going to work for you, the less it's going to do for you, the less it's going to grow. We want it to grow constantly. We always want to have a sharp mind for a sharp body. Thank you! Hopefully you learned something else from Let's Simplify Health to Magnify Life series. What are we up to? 3? Can't remember. I swear I turn into a freak when I put these on. I'm actually not this crazy. I'm actually quite reserved and introvert. Not with these. This is my alter ego right here.